Hi everyone. I have graded your teaching plans and have given you feedback on your teaching plans, and then your grade is tallied in your rubric area. Please note that Madeline is behind me, clearly annoyed that Gracie will not play with her. If they continue, I will put them in timeout. Okay, if you have during the day, if I began to grade earlier today and then had to take a break in the middle of the day to handle something. So if you looked at your grade earlier, I probably about an hour ago went back in and revised a few grades, not all of them, just a few. One of the things that I try to do, and I'm going to encourage you to do from a best practice standpoint, is as you go through and grade an assignment, whether it's a lengthy paper or today you had a worksheet, whatever the assignment is, I try to grade from top to bottom, from bottom to top, vary the direction that I grade in Blackboard. I also, when I'm done grading an assignment, I go back in and I look for common issues or things that I have done consistently. So let's say I started out at the beginning of the alphabet and I've graded 2 or 3, and as I moved through, I realized I had forgotten something on the rubric. I didn't remember to check it. I may stop on student 4 and go back to student 1 and make sure that student 1, 2, and 3 have been fairly treated like I'm treating student 4. That inter-rater reliability is great if you can get a partner to co-teach with you or co-grade with you. Then you can grade the same assignment and make sure you're doing it pretty consistently. In my bubble, I don't really have that. So the only way I can do that is to periodically go back in and make sure that I'm finding the same issues across each paper and that I'm trying to grade as consistently as possible. So consistency is one thing. Another thing that I try to look for is there a common issue? Is there something going on here that I've missed? Sometimes either something I've sent in an email or something I've sent in an announcement throws students for a loop, and I lead you in the wrong direction, and it shows up in a common theme in your work product. And I can look at this and I can see, okay, of 10 students, 5 students did it this way. As the educator, as the course lead, I must have done something either through the content they were offered or something that I said as their teacher, I led them astray. I think this week, one of the things that I found when I got about 3/4 of the way through is I realized that about half of you had not included your PowerPoint within your teaching plan. And I realized that the thinking about a PowerPoint, if you're not in academia full time, sometimes we think about the PowerPoint being for us, that we use it to present, therefore it's our tool. In reality, our PowerPoint serves 2 important purposes. The first is that it guides our lecture. Hopefully it does it effectively. The other thing that it serves is an educational tool for your students. Very rarely are you going to put up a PowerPoint and not give them a copy of it as a handout material. Some people take that PowerPoint to the next level and hand it out with blanks in it so that they have to pay attention to lecture to fill in the blanks of the PowerPoint. It kind of keeps them dialed in. So I want you to always look at not just the things, to see that the tools you use, that the vast majority of the things we use benefit the student, and we should consider them when we're planning our education. And I realize that that may not have been a nuance that some of you caught in thinking about the presentation of your material, understanding that that material in a PowerPoint setting would be a teaching tool and an aid that your students would want as a handout that we normally do as a practice guide. So, all that to say, if you looked at your grade earlier, please go back in and see I've updated it. If for some reason you have not, you did not think to put the PowerPoint in with your teaching plan, please know that I need you to include it when you do your presentation in week 8. A couple of weeks ago, I reminded you that this teaching plan that you've just turned in is the one you will be teaching in week 8. So if you were given feedback that said, wow, this is great, but you got to dial this down. This is really, really tough to do in 15 to 20 minutes. I want you to be practical and thinking about what does this look like? And if you have to do any major changes, you're going to need to turn in a revised teaching plan with your presentation. The idea is your teaching plan should look like your presentation to your student group. Okay, so minor things, don't worry about it. But if you needed a major overhaul, if there were some hiccups or things that were needed, I will communicate that with you, and you'll know that. The big thing is making sure that I have a copy of your PowerPoint, so I know what you think you're teaching, to make sure that it's congruent with what you had done. One of the challenges, I think, as a Christian educator, is how do I include my Christian worldview in an educational environment that may be secular? How do I anchor myself in my faith so that I can be consistent in how I present material? And one of the ways I do this is I think about the thing that I'm teaching. How does that have a biblical connection? One of your classmates did such a lovely job. Stephanie did her teaching plan that addressed the sorry, it's completely escaping me. Okay, it was medication double checking. So it was a great topic. What I really enjoyed about this was her comment about the relationship with the staff nurse, and she addressed the partnership when you're doing the double checking. And this is what she wrote. In these partnerships, you are given an opportunity to model for others the biblical principle of collaboration. Scripture is replete with examples of the wisdom of approaching challenges through collaborative efforts. In the Old Testament, we find God's decree, "Come now and let us reason together, saith the Lord." And that's in Isaiah chapter 1, verse 18. Jesus sent his disciples into the world in pairs, Mark chapter 6, verse 7. Moreover, in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 12 through 26, the Apostle Paul provides us with a metaphor for cooperation in which the parts of the body only derive purpose as parts of a whole human being. By collaborating with your instructor and peers, it's in exploring medication double checking and practicing these skills with your partner, you are given the opportunity to live out this biblical principle. Stephanie nailed it in really connecting the things she was teaching about with a biblical underpinning. And I so appreciate the effort it takes to really sit down and think about what is it that I'm doing, and how is God leading me to do that faithfully. The reality is, some of us work in secular environments, and we can't say this stuff out loud. And as sad as that is, that doesn't mean we can't say it in our hearts. It doesn't mean that we can't be bolstered by that anchor in our faith that guides our practice. So Stephanie did a really nice job with that. So I appreciate that. And many of you really did a nice job of connecting what you were thinking about teaching and a biblical underpinning. So I appreciate your efforts to do that. Lots of good stuff this week. I learn more than I ever want to when I read teaching plans, because I'm a mental health nurse. So I try really, really hard not to think about anything that bleeds. So nothing too gross and gory this week. So I was super excited. I've had some real interesting things. Someone did, oh, please forgive me, whoever you are, central line dressings. That made me a little woozy, but I pretend it's all plastic and I don't really have to think about it. Love the fact that courses like this, we get such a huge cross-section of practicing nurses, that you all make it such a rich learning environment. So that's always has a little bit of risk for me, because I'm not always all about the med-surg stuff, but I can pretend. Okay, let's talk, excuse me, briefly about next week. You've got your log. The big thing with the log is make sure you go in, double check your time log, and make sure that is correct. I have given you feedback in Typhon if you need to correct that. So start with that feedback and then make plans to make any other changes in your Typhon log. Remember, every time you do a log, what is in the time log should match what is on your practicum log. Love the fact that sometimes you get ahead of yourself and you put time in there that there's no log with. The challenge that creates is it causes confusion. If I look and I see 4 days that are entered into the practicum log, and you've only written about 2 because you plan to use those other 2 for log 3, or however you're juggling your world, it looks like you're missing 2 logs. So be consistent. Put your time log, update that with what's in your practicum log so those 2 match, and make sure that you're using the feedback for your supportive narrative section and your application section, so that they have as much content and detail as necessary to meet the expected outcomes. Your paper this week is teaching with technology. Folks, have fun with this. The idea really is to get you in to look at 3 technologies that you're either super excited about or you have no clue about and you want to learn about. My encouragement is to do something you don't already know about and use this as an opportunity for professional development. Find something that's interesting, see what it's about. You do need to go to the websites. You need to look at costs. You need to look at benefits. You need to look at risks and security issues. There are step-by-step questions that are in your assignment. Quickly answer the questions and keep moving. This is not designed to be a 15-page thesis. It's designed for you to say, I did a deep dive on these 3 technologies and this is what I learned. And this, this is what I learned and this is how I'm going to use it. So follow the steps. This paper, because of the little details, lends itself to level 1 and level 2 headings at a minimum. Depending on how granular you get, you may add level 3. So expect to use at least level 1 and level 2 headings in this paper and support your work. One of the things that really people get tangled up with in the reference list with this paper is reviewing how to cite a website. So take the time before you start citing them and make sure that you're looking for the details. Remember that the author of a website is the designer. Who's hosting that website? So, if you go into the Joint Commission websites, you can find all sorts of information. Well, the Joint Commission is going to be the author of the information on the Joint Commission website. Looking for dates, you're going to look for the date that the website was last maintained, and you're almost always going to find the author and the date at the very bottom of a web page. Look for it. Most of the time it's there. And then the page that you'll find, that goes in there, and then the retrieval website is the actual hyperlink is in there. So just review that format, make sure that you've got that. That normally people get tangled up because they don't pay attention to who the author is and leave off dates. So just be attentive to that. Oh my goodness, I think that is everything that is on my list. I hope things are well. If you're having any issues or you're having questions or concerns, please holler at me. I do want you to be intentional about planning to teach your lesson plan during for week 8. If you have to do it ahead of time, you don't have to wait until week 8 to do it, but you do need to do it either before or during week 8 for a grade. Work with your preceptor to find an opportunity to be able to demonstrate this. If you've decided if you're doing it in a hospital setting, get a commitment from a team of people. Hey, during lunch break, can you come in here and let me do this? It needs to be done with people on the topic that you've selected using the plan you've planned. Okay, this is real. The idea for this assignment is I just want to see you do it. And I want you to see you say you've planned a teaching plan. I want to see you be fabulous in implementing that plan. That's the goal. Okay, don't make it more than it is, but you got to find people and you got to find time to get it done. So plan accordingly. Let me know how you are. Touch base with questions or concerns. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Take care.